Hey guys, welcome back. We got a good show. It's the first time we've been in studio for a while. Both of us together. We've been traveling and going nuts. Last year, geez, I wish it was last year already. Last week, we kind of killed the Patreon on that UFC 289 card. Everyone did really well. So you guys, please do us a favor and like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you guys want to come on to the Patreon and the Discord, we'd love to have you. Brandon, what do you got for these guys?
That's all I got. Keep lining our pockets. That's what we need. We need a more, bigger community, and that's it.
Okay. Hopefully you guys enjoy the show. 100, 102? What's your guess right now?
150. It's the devil's nutsack in here.
Dude, it's hot as shit, right?
Well, you're going swimming. Actually, I love this shirt, by the way.
Dude, it's not bad, right?
And I have those shorts, too, like a version of those shorts, not the same ones, but a version of them. They're the most comfortable shorts ever.
Yeah.
I never wear boxers with them.
Interesting. You're just free balling it around.
Oh, you have to. It's this hot. You have to free ball it.
It's just a swamp if you don't.
An extra layer?
So we're bougie. Did you see that Scotch and Soda in the mall closed down?
No, I didn't actually.
I don't know what's going on, but I don't like it.
Wow.
And I don't think it's the same thing, but there's a mall in San Francisco. Like our mall here, what is that? Who runs our mall?
Big government corporations.
Yeah, it is, but it's a management company. What is the Scottsdale Fashion Square Mall? I forget the name of the big Westcor or something like that.
All right.
So it might even be the same company, but they're pulling all of their mall management out of the city of San Francisco because there's so many issues they can't even get. They're like, it's a safety issue. People are stealing. Nobody's even coming to the mall anymore. Man, how the times. I mean, you're 15, 16 years old. You walk around the mall. It's not a thing anymore.
The mall that I used to walk around has now been demolished.
Was that Metro Center?
No, come on. I am not ghetto like that. Sorry, this is like Arizona stuff.
Yeah.
But Paradise Valley Mall.
Oh, this is not even a mall anymore?
No, they knocked it down.
Really?
Yeah, just Costco's
If
left.
you go to a mall now, outside of Fashion Square, I mean, Scottsdale Fashion Square is still a really nice mall. If you go to pretty much any other mall in the country, it's to do heroin. Like, that is it. Like, methadone, heroin.
Wait, which malls?
Just all of them but Scottsdale.
Hey, can we cut this pod a little early?
Yeah, you've got someplace to go.
Well, worse than that, I don't want to hear your bougie bullshit, to be honest
all
with
you
you.
hear.
But Salad and Go raised their prices and they charge for extra dressings, and they're using banana peppers instead of jalapenos, which is actually a little bit better on my stomach. It's better for me. But
I mean, it's still a little fake, but it's
tragedy. I went to the window, it was $7.62.
I've never been to a Salad and Go.
Oh, what is wrong with you?
I don't know. One, I don't eat salads. Like, that's a weird thing.
No, nobody eats salads until you have Salad and Go, and then all you eat is salads.
Yeah, I don't really want much to do with salads. I mean, this physique doesn't get built up. It's like
you look like you've been eating tofu for the last 40 years.
Tofu and salad. I know, fucking milky white skin and bones. Yeah. So anyway, I think we were just talking about this. This might be our last podcast in this room. If all goes well, I will burn this place down. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not. It's a buddy of mine's warehouse, and he was like, "Hey, do whatever you need. I've got offices." And that's cool. It's super cool, super nice.
We got a brothel on one side and a podcast studio on the other.
Yeah. And it's and then the sun's inferno all around us. And we were like, hey, so I mean, look, we did a lot of really nice stuff. You guys can't see the other side, which looks horrible, but you can see what you see, and it looks amazing. But there's no air conditioning. This is fucking Arizona. This is real. So we've got a new podcast room. Hopefully it'll be ready in the next couple of weeks. But I mean, like, I'm already glistening. Like, this is like gym.
That's hot.
Here. Yeah, I don't know. All right.
I'm trying not to chug my whole water within the first 10 minutes of the show.
Yeah, I know. Like, I've got a Spindrift, which is what I've used to replace all sparkle waters that I might, Cole, you might have to address that. You might have to Spindrift me over here. I'm telling you guys.
Sounds dirty.
If you like sparkle water, all bets are off, and you just go and Spindrift now.
Uh-oh, Cole's coming on camera. Oh, just kidding.
Oh, man, I thought we were going to get a Cole sighting. He's like the abominable snowman or something.
Cole, why didn't you warn us about Blake Builder, man?
Why did Builder look... Well, you said it. I was like, man. So, all right, let's slight backstory. If you guys don't know what you're talking about, one, why are you watching? Because we're talking about the UFC fight last week. But I think we killed everything on the card. Like that was the only thing. If you guys look at my Instagram or whatever, I think that was the only thing I got wrong. I think I had 5 money lines and probably 5 or 8 over unders, and Builder was the only one that I got wrong. And I asked you, I said, well, what? I said, how did he lose that? Like, what the hell? And you're like, tell him what you said about California and the training.
Well, yeah, I said this on 2 podcasts. By the way, if I go on another podcast and I say, how's my mic? Expect an honest answer. I went on Half the Battle podcast, and it sounded like I was talking from another room, like echoing horrible. Dan, come on, man. You got to tell me if my mic is not good.
You can't let our boy go out
I look like a fool.
Well, you always look like a fool, but you sounded like a fool,
okay, yes, different. No, I said this on the pod. I said it on his. I said it on ours, is that the training is so segmented. It's so segmented. Jiu-jitsu one place, boxing another place, wrestling another place. It's so segmented that nobody can put it all together. And that's a lot of times why you see those California people. They're either boxing or we're doing jiu-jitsu. Rarely do you see someone like fake a shot, throw an overhand, because no one really mixes that all together. No. It's weird, and he fights very much that way. That's how he trains, exactly.
Yeah, gosh, there's moments where he looked good and he looked better, but then of course he just gets hit with that big Canadian overhand, and what the hell do you do? I mean, just a good chin, but yeah, I think that was really the only bad one. I was upset. I'm calling this as a win because I called Imavov, and he won that. I don't give a shit about a headbutt.
No, that was come on. He's a dirty Frenchman cheater.
That was a nasty headbutt. But that said, he was on his way to pick Chris
No,
Curtis
come
apart.
on. He's a dirty cheater. He had to cheat to win. He was on the ropes.
I was actually really impressed with Imavov's wrestling, where Curtis has never been nobody has been credited with a takedown against Curtis before, even though Brandon Allen kind of took him down, but he popped up. Nobody's been credited with the takedown before Imavov, and he took him down easily multiple times. Imavov impressed in that one, so that was solid go.
I think Chris had him right where he wanted him.
Just a moment of time. It was just
he was playing the game. He knew what he was doing,
and then he was ready to pounce.
Well, then he got a foul committed against him. It was dirty French.
Yeah.
Anyways.
All right. Well, we've got 7,000 fights on this card.
Wow.
It seems. I mean,
this week alone, there's 18 Bellator fights. There's
PFL.
There's 14 UFC fights.
There's a lot of stuff
LFA.
Going on. Ugh.
Jeez.
I got through like half of this card. And I'm like, oh, I've got to be almost done. I'm like, there's still like 7 fights left. So.
Yet on a pay-per-view, there's 11 fights.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I don't. Makes no sense. All right, you guys, let's get in this. Let me go. I'm just going to refresh this to make sure everything is current-ish. We've got Modestas Bukauskas. First of all, could you imagine being American with your last name Bukauskas?
Why do you think he's a fighter?
Bukauskas. It's true. And he's fighting Zach Pauga. Run with this one. Go with it. I hate this fight. I'll talk about it in a second.
Actually, too, but I think Modestas has leveled up a lot. Everyone's saying, like, pardon me, I saw some takes that, like, oh, Tyson Pedro controlled Modestas on the cage for a long period of time and did these kind of things.
I'm, like, sweating. Look at
my
shirt.
You are legitimately sweating.
I sweat like crazy.
We're on chapter 1 of 14.
We're on chapter 1 of 14. I'm curious. All right, you guys, you see where I'm at right now? This is chapter 1, how badly I'm sweating.
You might have to take your shirt off.
I will take my shirt off.
That's a Scotch and soda shirt. You're not supposed to be sweating in that.
Yeah, I'll glisten. The only thing, if I take my shirt off, you're going to see my skinny fat body. That's not amazing. So this is where we're at now. I'm gonna show you guys again the sweat factor when I'm done, and we'll see how much I've soaked through. Because I sweat. I'm a sweater. All right, go.
I've tasted you, so it's not bad.
Oh, jeez.
Anyways, yeah, Modestas look a lot better in his last fight. The thing that I've been seeing a lot is everyone says, well, Pauga couldn't do this to Jordan Wright. Pauga couldn't take Jordan, he was cage pushing Jordan Wright. The thing with Jordan Wright is, like, you don't want to let him get going. He's just not good, but he's dangerous. Yeah. So all he did was cage push him, right? He didn't want to disengage to try to go for that at risk of elbows, but not everybody fights that way, and especially Modestas. I do like Modestas' movement. I thought it was a lot better. His counterpunching, for once in his life, he was actually aggressive in his last fight, which I thought looked better. Takedown defense, everything looks good. Like, everything looks good with Modestas. He's game. I like that style, fighting that kind of UK style. I think I'm going to go Modestas with little faith, not a ton. It's not like this is a slam it spot for me, but Pauga does everything well. He's not a bad striker. He's not a bad wrestler. He kind of does everything well, but not well enough and not fast enough. So I think Modestas moves a little bit better, a little bit cleaner, and the more aggression that he's showing, I think will serve him well. So I'm going to go Modestas in this spot.
Okay. Yeah, my issue with both these guys is low volume. They just don't do anything.
Yeah.
And Modestas is king of low volume. And we saw that in the Pedro fight where he was death gassed. He was dying, and Modestas just wouldn't put it on him. You're like, dude, do something. In the fight, in his last Cage Warriors fight, or the one before that when he fought for the title, I forget who it was, he just didn't do anything. And eventually he found, TKO victory after round. I think it was in the 4th round. He just doesn't fight. And that's what really bothers me here. But Zach Pauga doesn't fight either. And when he does fight, he over-exaggerates all of his movements. And so I think Modestas is going to see that.
Pick him apart. So overs are good here?
Yes, but I do like Modestas, and here's why. And I said it I wasn't on the podcast last week because I was in Florida, but I wrote it up for the Patreon, is with Miranda Maverick and Jasmine Jostovicius, is I don't trust the coaching at elevation. They're not really like, what are they doing? What are they game planning? How are they doing stuff? And so I can't really assume that Pauga is going to have a really good game plan going into this fight. But then also, if you look at him, he's actually really low in his stance, which isn't the end of the world if you're throwing big haymakers or if you're blast doubling people. But he's too low in his stance, and that he likes to kick. But when you kick and you're low, you've got to
come back up.
Yeah, you got to come back up, or you got to take big steps. You got to do something, and so you've got to telegraph your movements. And I think Pauga is getting better. He's young in his MMA career, and he is improving. I just don't think he's where he needs to be yet. He needs to clean things up and sharpen things up. If he did everything that he did right now, but his punches were a little less labored, a little less telegraphed, a little more fluid, a little bit just wherever he's at, but just a sharpened up version, I think he could beat Modestas. Or if he were to swing with just hate and heat, I think he could beat Modestas.
But he's too clean and technical. He tries to be.
Yes, he's too clean and technical, but he's not quite technical enough. And Modestas is just a little savvy enough to where I think he's just going to get through it. He's just been there too many times. So I like Modestas here. Not by crazy. I'm not wowed. But the over, like you said, I think is solid, and I think the generalship of Modestas wins it. So, all right, next up we have Ronnie Lawrence and Daniel Argueta. I'll kick this off. We first saw Argueta against Damon Jackson, and he put on a hell of a fight in his losing effort against Jackson because he took that on short notice, up a weight class.
Yeah.
And he looked good, and then in his last fight, I forget who he fought.
Nick
Aguirre, whatever it is. Yes, and for as good as he looked losing against Damon Jackson, I thought he looked kind of pedestrian winning against Aguirre, and so it was kind of a weird situation. He won the fight. His defensive grappling is good, and he defends stuff well. But he's a power wrestler, which is fine. But he doesn't really do a lot of ground and pound on top, and he doesn't really attack submissions on top. So he kind of controls, almost like straight up wrestling rides you on top, but not great, more of a power guy. But then his standing, I thought in that second and third round, he looked really fatigued standing.
Yeah, he did.
And that grappling kind of took it out of him. And then you have Ronnie Lawrence, who's not but actually before we get there, Argueta is big, strong, powerful guy for the weight class. Ronnie Lawrence is not that guy. He almost looks a little small for the weight class. He doesn't look overly physical for the weight class. Not that I think he's undersized, but he's not that guy. But he's fluid. He moves laterally so well, and he draws people in. And as they start pressing him, that gives him a clean takedown, which makes it easy for him. But then it also gives him just clean strikes where he'll move. Like if he's stepping to his right, then he'll redirect and dart his right hand as he goes to his left, and then he'll switch stances going to his left and redirect to his right. He draws people in, he knifes them in. And I expect to see Argueta get a takedown at some point, but I don't think he's going to hold Lawrence. And once he gets back up, I think his hands are going to be pretty fatigued. And I like Lawrence to kind of pick Argueta apart here, especially after round one. I think it'll probably go to a decision just because Lawrence. Man, he could finish, but I think the odds are in it being over 2.5. Yeah, I like Lawrence here.
I'm totally on board with you. I really like Ronnie Lawrence here. That last fight I thought was a fairly easy one to call. I had Saliokov pretty good, and there's just a difference, and maybe it was inside stuff, just knowing people have trained with Saliokov and his wrestling background and judo background, and honestly, even his jiu-jitsu looked really clean in that fight. That guy's control and his gas tank are
insane.
I've never seen anything like it. He out-cardioed and out-paced the guy who's cardio and pace. But one thing that I was looking at is Ronnie Lawrence didn't really quit on himself in that fight, right? He kept fighting till the end. There was even a time, middle of the second round or towards the end of the second round, he's getting mauled. His eyes are swollen shut. Like he's just getting destroyed. And he's still standing up, from on the bottom. Can Dan keep that kind of pace? The same one that Saliokov kept? I don't think so. Yeah. Is Dan's jiu-jitsu as good? I don't think so. Is his striking as good? I don't think so.
And his control. Because Dan is a leg wrestler, an American leg wrestler.
Yeah.
Saliokov, or however the hell you say his name, he's not a dag, but he's a European grab you, maul you, pick you up, and
he's got a judo background and a high-level wrestling background, so he can kind of mix the two styles, where Dan is just, whatever. The only person he really controlled like that and actually looked like a crazy mauler and actually threw volume on was Myron Santos, but the kid is so young. He was like 18 years old or whatever. I think this is a great buy low spot on Ronnie Lawrence here. I actually do like his striking better.
I like his striking better than his grappling and his wrestling.
Yeah, I think honestly, if he sprawled and brawled the entire time, that would be it. But I mean, I would love to see Ronnie offensively wrestle for one round, even if he loses the round, to tire out Dan. Yep. And then I think round 2, round 3, he picks him apart. He beats him however he wants.
Okay, so what's your final call and everything?
Ronnie Lawrence.
Okay, over, under, does that matter?
I just like Ronnie.
Okay.
Over.
Just I say that like that, trying to get this through, because why did Saliokov get cut? Like he lost that fight. I thought he was kind of
I think Boy was gambling.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think old Boy was gambling.
Because that was he was a prospect and a good. It was weird to see him get cut because I thought he had a really big future.
Oh, he does. He's good. He was beating the hell out of Saeed.
Yeah, he's a really good fighter. So anyway, okay. I didn't know the details on that. All right, Teresa, Bleda, and Gabriella, Hernandez. Give me your thoughts on that.
I think I love this spot. So I have a couple early plays on Hernandez KO, plus 1,400 on her KO line, and then you can choose any round by round. They're just such insane prices. The way that I'm looking at this fight, right? People are talking about how durable Bleda is and how good she is and how good her grappling lasts. Watch the Silva fight. She was exhausted after round 1, and she didn't even really get a takedown. She hit a reroll. Natalia Silva did a hip toss, and then Bleda just rolled her back through and ended up coming up on top. And then got reversed immediately, stood up, and she was death gassed. The thing that I'm seeing with Hernandez, like honestly, I think Hernandez and Silva would be a competitive fight because of the styles, right? They're both strikers. They're not going to grapple. Now we're talking about, physicality and striking, a whole difference. But Hernandez is strong. And look at her takedown defense against Jasovicius. People want to say her takedown defense is awful. I went into it going, it's going to be the worst. She just falls over, but she doesn't. She's very strong. It was those upper body lifts, and the thing is Jazz kept chain wrestling. She would tip her one way and then tip her back the other way, and she just didn't see it coming.
And we just saw Jasmine win against
Maravrick.
Yeah, Miranda Maverick, and she looked good. She looked improved. So you can see what she can do, and I think that loss to Jasmine ages well.
It ages a lot better. Yeah. Okay. Now are we going to say Miranda Maverick has awful takedown defense because Jazz did that to her? Jazz has good hips and she's got good upper body locks. I went back a little bit and was watching. I was trying to find double legs because Bleda shoots doubles a lot. Low doubles where she drops steps and shoots like that. And Hernandez has kind of good hips. She does see things coming. Maybe it's because people are so scared of her striking that now she can see things in front of her very clearly. But she defended doubles. She was defending Jasmine's upper body locks a lot. Now, takedown defense and get-ups are two different things. Her get-ups are the worst thing in the world. She'll lay on her back one whole round, if she gets there. But her initial takedown defense, her hips, her strength is something to be noted. Her striking is sick, crazy kicks, kind of weird angles on the punches, but man, she throws hard. She's huge and she's strong. So I would avoid Bleda for me personally at all costs. I actually like Hernandez for the upset, and then I got a lot on the KO lines.
Okay, nice. We'll leave it at that, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so we won't touch too much on this next one. I won't, because we have Felipe Bunes versus Zalga Zumagulov. And Felipe trains with us at Fight Ready quite a bit. So he's technically a pit bull guy, trains in Brazil for the most part. But even in his last couple LFA fights, he claims pit bull and Fight Ready and stuff like that. I'm just going to say Felipe is tall, he's lean, he's very tough everywhere. And I'm just really happy that he gets this opportunity because he really is good. He really is good. And then, that's all I'll say on him. On the other side, on Zalgas, he's 1-5 in the UFC. That is insane because he is legitimately pretty good. Is he ever going to fight for a title? No. But his 1-5 could easily be 3-2 or 4-1. I mean, he's like a lot of those are really close split decisions. I thought he beat Charles Johnson. He's the best 1-5 UFC fighter we've ever seen. So, both of these guys are really good.
But his only wins over Jerome Rivera. So what do you make of that? Go figure.
It's crazy. So anyway, that's all I'm going to say. If you want to add anything, go for it. But
no, Felipe's clean. The one thing I have never got to train with Felipe. I would love to train with Felipe sometime. But the only thing I worry about is like his fight with Huáscar Cruz on LFA. It's like he's so much better than Huáscar. He's taller, he's younger, he's faster, he's more skilled in every area. And he made that fight way closer than it needed to be just by not using his head so much.
Well, I'll tell you why. There's two things on that. First of all, he won all 3 rounds. So for any judge to have... I went back and watched that.
Was it a split? It wasn't.
It was a split decision.
Wow.
He lost... one of the judges gave 29-28 and the other 2 judges gave 30-27. That was a 30-27 Felipe fight. Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
The reason why he made it hard was Felipe will sometimes not move in and out of range when his opponents move in and out of range. He stands there and he wants to throw down. And if somebody steps in, if you guys can see, if they step in and crowd, he's just ready to throw and he stays there. He doesn't necessarily encroach the space and clinch and go, or keep the space. And that's why he was fighting a guy who
is in and out so
much. And he didn't adjust on that. That said, I thought Felipe won all of that. And it was comical for whoever scored that 29-28 for,
Huáscar,
the other guy was like, shame on you. But.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought he won all 3 rounds, but it just was like, why take these risks that you don't need to take? You're so much better than him. Either outstrike him on the feet or take him down, but he was letting it be closer. And then even in the Yuma fight, he knocked Yuma out, but he got clipped too from that exact same thing that you're saying is just like not respecting the range and sitting there and taking one on the chin.
Yep.
So I think, man, he's really talented. I think that's a good spot.
Such a nice guy, too. So, all right, next up we have Carlos Hernandez, Dennis Bondar. I'm going with this one because Bondar is not good. I don't know. Like, dude.
Wow.
He's not good. He's not great. Like, how is he going to win this fight? His jiu-jitsu is actually decent. He has no wrestling. He just sneezed on. He's getting taken down. I think Carlos Hernandez just has to not do anything stupid, and this is absolutely his fight. And Dennis doesn't want to fight. He doesn't want to get hit. He doesn't want to throw down. He wants to grapple. He wants to win on his terms. But when things get ugly, he's like, man, let me bail. Hernandez isn't a great power guy. He is not a great finisher. But I think his cardio, his volume striking, and just mixing some wrestling in here and there, I think it's going to be an easy 3-round victory if he doesn't find the finish beforehand. I don't think a lot needs to be said here. I think Dennis Bondar is out after this.
Wow, that's kind of crazy because they were setting him up to get a win in his first one, and you would think that's kind of what they're setting him up for now. We know Carlos pretty well. That last fight was tough. He fought Alan Nascimento, who's a massive flyweight with excellent jiu-jitsu and actually has pretty good hands. And it was just tough because it's not like his takedown defense really lacked. He just got his back taken and then standing choked, which kind of sucked.
Yeah.
The one thing we've talked about with Carlos for a long time that we really like is the second his butt hits the mat, he is up and out.
Yep.
Right. And I think the reason that this line is close is because Victor Altamirano and him had a pretty close fight, but the style was completely different.
And Altamirano is going to be hard for anyone. He's not great, but look at how close he makes fights. Like, he's just a tough out. Who's the kid that Natividad just lost to?
Ricky Tercios.
He's almost Ricky Tercios, where like people will beat him, but gosh, he just won't die and is all over the place. And if he doesn't get knocked out, he's just a tough fight for anyone there is. And that's Altamirano to me.
Like autistic kind of?
Yeah, like a little autistic.
Yeah, like, but the style, I think that's the misconception with a lot of these lines is like, it's the style. Carlos isn't going to put together a 15-minute take you down game plan like Tim Elliott did, right?
Yep.
Altamirano looked awful because he's got bad takedown defense and he's willing to lay on his back. So all Tim Elliott did was, okay, I'm just going to take you down. But Carlos isn't putting together a 15-minute fight like that. He'll take you down to get you off of him, and then he'll let you back up and reset. Yep. And then it's a striking match. And one thing that Altamirano does is does have like weird volume. It doesn't make
power. He looks to have power at that size.
He throws things that don't really make any sense, but he fills that space, which is why that's such a close competitive fight. But watch Carlos. Carlos is always throwing volume. It's calculated. It's precise. It's very clean. I mean, beating Daniel Barres on Contender Series is a big win. That kid is a good 25er. He's a very, very talented flyweight. I like Carlos. I think I agree with you. I just see more volume on the feet for Carlos. I don't know that Bondar is going to be able to hold him down. I think he will get him down, but I don't think he can.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
Man. Like a legit get down, or like his butt touches and he's back up?
I think it's going to be a butt touching.
Okay, yeah. Like that I could see, but any sort of control, I can't.
Originally
really fathom.
Originally looking at this matchup, I thought Carlos was the slam spot. And then I started watching the film and I'm like, Bondar's doing good trips. He's got good double legs. Like he is pretty crafty and pretty good sometimes with it. But I don't know many people that are going to control Carlos like that. He is squirmy. He's
wiry,
he's tough.
And squirmy. Yep.
Yeah, he's got no power at all, which is sad.
And he's kind of small for the division as well. Even
not his head. His head is like a heavyweight head.
He looks little. Especially against like Altamirano and stuff like that. And Altamirano's kind of big anyway. So
yeah, but I'm with you. I got Carlos on this one.
Okay. Next up, we have Kyung Ho Kang and Christian Quinones. I like both of these guys. This fight and the Nicolas Mota Manuel Torres fight are very similar to me, and I like both guys in both fights. Give me your thoughts on this one, because I know you're big on Kang for, quite a long time. I don't know if you still are, but
well, I love Kang. I mean, he is very, very, very good. His jab, his striking is just it's Mr. Perfect. It really is beautiful to watch. It's super, super clean, and I think I'm picking against him in this fight. And the reason that I'm picking against him in this fight is he's used to a very controlled fight. When he can jab, get out of range, uses wrestling when he needs to. The thing about Quinones, he's not as technical as Kang, but he's still a really good striker, and he's always firing back, and he's firing back in combinations. Watch Kang, when he throws a jab and then someone fires back at him, he's covering. Dana did that 100 times, where he's swinging back on him, and he's covering and waiting.
First of all, I watched that fight back. I thought Dana won that fight.
It's close.
I thought Dana won rounds 1 and 2, and that Kang won round 3. I was really kind of surprised. I mean, it was in Korea that they fought, but man, I really thought Dana won that.
Those bigger, harder punches, and when the guy's just shelling up, eating volume, and then he comes back with a jab, it's like, all right, how do you score these rounds? But man, Quinones to me is like a faster, way more technical Dana who's throwing leg kicks.
And a little taller.
And a little taller. So you can actually touch him. Dana's just got short arms compared to Kang, which made it tough. Yeah, I think Quinones is tough. I think the kid is a lot better than I had originally given him credit for. I thought Khalid Taha was going to beat him, and he killed him. So, yeah, I like Quinones here. Just the volume, the pressure, honestly just the willingness to fight. And then the age, too. Kang's 35.
Yeah, you said it. Kang's striking is really clean. And if this was a kickboxing fight or even a boxing fight, I would go Kang on it, because they're going to be more controlled in the area, and there's going to be more like volume and who wears whom down sooner and whose basics fall apart sooner. And that would be Quinones. His basics are going to fall apart sooner than Kang's. Kang is so technically sound, it's unreal. On the striking side of it, his wrestling is good. His defensive wrestling is good, and Yaya beat him because he's Yaya. He had some dumb stuff right there. But We already saw this fight play out a little bit with Dana, and like you said, Dana throws from weird angles, and Kang can't handle the lateral movement and the punches coming from anywhere except for front and back. And if you look at every time Dana would throw like a looping left hook and like I say uppercut, but it wasn't a clean uppercut. It was almost like a upward right hand. Like, I don't even know what you would call it. Just like these little short punches that would loop from any angle other than straight, and he would land them. And then you have Quinones, who moves laterally so much that Kang is going to be constantly having to track. And I do think Kang is more technical, but you add in the volume, the reach, the speed, and then just the lateral movement. He is going to be moving so much that I do like Quinones here. Just the youth, the speed, the height, all of it. I think this is predominantly going to be a striking match. For the most part, I can't see too much ground stuff happening. If anything, I think Kang gets hurt and then shoots, or to try and do something, which I don't think he'll get it. But even if he does, Quinones' jiu-jitsu is scrappy enough.
And he gets back up.
Yep, and he gets back up and he'll attack the neck. So I like Quinones here quite a bit. All right, next up we got Jimmy Flick and Alessandro Costa. This one to me is all predicated on Costa's defensive wrestling. And man, I went through as much tape as I could. I spent a lot of time on this fight, mainly on Costa, to try to see him wrestle, because in his last 3, 4, 5 fights, there's like zero wrestling. So I'm like, let me go to the next one. Let me go to the next one. Let me go to the next one. I finally found him wrestling 5 fights ago in a Lux fight with the kid with the braids, the dreads, whatever it was. And he can wrestle. He can offensively wrestle. He can defensively wrestle. He's throwing arm bars and attacking jiu-jitsu. I don't think it's as good as... Let me say it's as good. There's MMA jiu-jitsu, and then there's jiu-jitsu. And like MMA jiu-jitsu, you're controlling, you're doing all of the right stuff, or really jiu-jitsu. But in MMA, like Charles Oliveira would lose a lot of jiu-jitsu matches to a lot of people in MMA, but in the fight, he finds these submissions and he just attacks. It's almost like, I know Oliveira is a black belt, but it's what we talk about purple belt jiu-jitsu, where you just chase the submission. It's one thing.
I said that about Oliveira last week on the pod, and then Dan was like, guys, just for clarification, he knows he's not a purple belt.
Yeah.
But it's the style. It's the,
yes.
The way
but actually, Flick is a purple belt MMA jiu-jitsu guy where he chases submissions, but then if he doesn't get him, he ends up on his bottom a lot. He ends up on his back a lot. He'll slide off, and people will end up on his back. He's almost a little bit too reckless, and then he ends up in these bad positions. He does have good wrestling. He does have, but it's weird. He'll time stuff well.
He gets in so deep and doesn't finish.
We saw it in one of his last LFA fights. Who is it? Gregory Fisher, is that his name? Where he ran a double, beautiful redirect, and got it, and then came up in that head and arm triangle. If he didn't finish that, I don't think he wins that fight. So I think that was his one and done right there. Then, so there's that. Then Costa, standing, he hits hard and he does stuff well. Holy inactivity, Batman. That dude just stands there and stands there and stands there. But with Flick, I think he's going to see stuff coming a mile away. And so I don't know if it's going to matter standing. I think he's still, even with the inactivity, I think if he touches Flick, Flick's another guy who I don't think really likes to fight. He wants to grapple, but he doesn't really want to be touched. We saw that in the Ray Rodriguez fight, the Ray Judge fight, where, man, he could grapple, and then he got back up, and Rodriguez is still there, and it was like, oh shit, now we're in trouble. So, I think Costa can defend against the takedown long enough to beat Flick up and panic Flick into a TKO-ish, or TKO or KO, or even a submission or something like that if he does hurt him. I waver on this just a little bit because I just haven't seen people really aggressively attack wrestling on Costa well enough for me to really understand Costa's grappling and wrestling abilities.
Yeah, I'm with you. Looking at this, we know Jimmy Flick retired and then he came back and he's looked so bad in so many fights and gets these kind of super lucky Hail Mary submissions. So I was thinking, oh man, Costa's got to be the lock, right? I know he's a black belt. I know he fought in Lux. I've done my research on him when he fought on Contender Series. And then he's been knocking guys out. But then watching him against Amir Albazi, and they're just sitting there staring at each other for 14 minutes was crazy. And I get it's Albazi, so it's a different level there, clearly. But he didn't throw anything.
Nothing. Like literally nothing, you guys.
Was comfortable being on his back, as he usually is. I don't love him. It's hard to like get... For me, it's like Blake Builder. I said this last week. Like, okay, I thought Builder was going to win, but don't put him in parlays. To me, that's kind of how this fight is. Don't put this dude in parlays, because there is a world where Jimmy Flick takes him down and then grinds him out for 3 rounds.
See, I don't think so. I think if he gets to take... I think if Flick wins, it's a submission. I think he gets him down and eventually finds a submission. I think other than a Jimmy Flick submission, I don't know. Let me look really quickly because I'm curious here. He is 16-6. Submitted Cody Durden, and so he lost to Charles Johnson, of course. That was his last fight. I'm just going to go through his wins right now. Flying triangle. But that was really... Durden caught that kick and ran it and kind of jumped into it. So that one, man, I don't really count that. The Nate Smith arm triangle, Greg Fisher arm triangle, Jesse Bazzi submission, CJ Hamilton triangle, shoulder choke, guillotine submission. He says Sean O'Grady, he has a win. That is back in 2014. Doesn't say how. And then he doesn't have a single list. Oh, his very first pro fight, he has a decision win.
Okay, so Jimmy Flick decision, book it.
Yeah. So he has like no wins via decision.
Well, but the reason that I say that, though, his jiu-jitsu is so much better than all those guys that he fought, and he's submitting those guys. Do we think he's going to submit Costa? I mean, just Costa's a black belt, and he's on a higher level than most of those guys. I could see a world where Costa accepts being on his back and Flick's just shooting one takedown each round and he grinds it out. I'm going to go with Costa. I think that is the pick because Jimmy doesn't feel like he wants to fight. Feels like he has one round, and if it doesn't go his way, then he's going to find his way out.
Yep.
And Costa does hit hard. Flick's striking, honestly, was not as bad as I remember. It's a different level than Charles Johnson. He kind of got caught in the matrix, but he would swing back. He would get really deep on those takedowns, but then just be like almost scared to finish it.
Yes.
I wouldn't play Costa too heavily, but I like Costa to win here.
If anything, I like that the fight doesn't go the distance because I think Flick either gets a submission or he finds a way out.
Yeah, I think that's a good play. It's just hard when you're talking unders in flyweight MMA.
I know. But these guys are not known for going to...
Yeah,
not only are they not known, but just the Flick's uneasiness being in there is what... So I think he's a scared animal. So he's either going to attack and kill or he's going to get killed and run away right there. So...
Yep.
All right, next up we've got Raoni Barcelos and Miles John. I think you're up on this. And before we get going, really, I think we've been big on Raoni forever. Like, I mean, he's been amazing. He has fallen from grace.
Has he?
Yeah, I mean,
what do you mean?
He lost to Victor Henry. He lost to Timur. He lost to Victor. He beat Trevin Jones, and he lost to Umar. So just his last 4 fights, he's 3-1, which I just wouldn't have expected, considering how big I am on Barcelos and his skills.
He beat 80% of Fight Ready. What do you mean?
Yeah, it's true. When he was 28, not when he was 38. But to me, this fight is, if we're picking Miles Johns here to win, then that means Barcelos is kind of done. Because I think at that level, like, you don't lose to Miles and then come back and be a title contender. So this is kind of...
he's not going to be... He's too old to be a title contender now.
But I mean, like, win a lot of good fights right there. And that's my thought. Give me your thoughts on this.
I don't even think this fight is close. I didn't get to watch the fight when it happened, him versus Umar. And I remember, like, it was like this thing all week is like, we know he's going to lose the fight, but man, he was like plus 700. It's like, how could you not try that? Because of how talented he is and how skilled he is. But we all knew he was... It's like one of those, you just know it's going to lose. It drove me crazy. And then I saw everyone going, man, he dropped from a jab. And that's not what it was. It was not a jab.
What was it? I don't remember.
Umar was standing orthodox, threw a knee, like feinted a knee or threw a knee, and Barcelos dropped his hands to like block the knee, and then he switched stances to southpaw, threw a punch from his hip, and cracked his jaw. Literally from his hip, and Umar was swinging hard in that fight. I don't think you guys have to worry so much about Raoni's chin, because watch the whole fight. Umar's hands are bricks. I didn't know he could hit that hard, and it's from such a short space. Like he cracks, and Raoni ate all of them for breakfast. Whatever, and he was still pressing forward, still in his face. It was when he feinted the knee and didn't see that switch stance and that left hand come. That's what caught him. It wasn't a jab. It wasn't like he's boom, done. Right? It was a punch he didn't see coming, and that's what happens. Man, watching Miles Johns, he is so loopy and so short and so small, and so many traits that are really undesirable. And Raoni is so long and so sharp and can wrestle and jiu-jitsu and does so many things well. I know he's old, but he beat Trevin, who's not the worst in the world.
Mm-hmm. And it's hard. Swings.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, knocked out Timur. And then he had a very close fight with Timur. Man, I still think this guy is one of the best in the world, and to not see a ranking next to his name is really tough. Great buy low spot, I think, for him. Miles has a round and a half of cardio, and he's done. Raoni fights at an insane pace and can go 3 rounds, and he got knocked out by a guy they want to fight for a title. Like, you're gonna ding him and say he's washed up because of that? Like, I don't know. For me, it's Raoni, and it's not that close.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you. I was just curious, like, but if he can't beat a guy like Miles Johns, then you got to assume you're done here.
Yeah,
and that's not even a knock on Miles Johns, but Miles Johns is not the upper echelon of the division. And the thing with Johns is, I mean, like you said, everything is loopy. He's got to land that one big overhand, or I don't see a path to victory for him. I don't think he doesn't have that crazy power that I think is going to kill Raoni. He doesn't have like some amazing jiu-jitsu skills or wrestling skills. I think the person like Umar is the elite, and he's that guy. And I don't see that Johns he's a generalist. He's good everywhere. He's decent everywhere. But I think to beat Raoni, you've got to just be amazing everywhere like the Umars, or you've got to be a very, very specific stylistic fighter.
Annoying Victor Henry in your face, million punches.
Very stylistic in whatever it is you do.
Honestly, just not afraid of Raoni.
Yes, yep. And so no, I like Raoni here. I think I like him by decision, though. I don't think he's probably going to put Johns away.
And that was my question: is how does he do it? Because he's not a massive finisher, but he's also fighting top guys in the division.
Yep. And
Miles
Johns will gas in that third round. So if you're going to go just finish, I think it's got to be third round finish. But I think the over 1.5 is good. If you want to get crazy with stuff, over 1.5 fight doesn't go the distance, or Raoni and over 1.5, because I don't think it's going to be an early finish. I think if anything, it'd be a late wear you down, beat you up type of finish right there.
Raoni's not Castaneda, though. Castaneda seems to know how to just drain people's life force. He's so good.
Well, he doesn't. Castaneda, he moves a lot, and then he blitzes him. When he's offense, he's really offense. And when he's defense, he's running, so you're chasing him. Raoni's kind of there, inching in, inching out, but it's not these big cardiovascular movements, whether you're offensively or defensively doing
I think that's a good play. Raoni decision. That's a good play.
Yeah. All right. Muslim Saliokov, Nicholas Dolby. I like Saliokov here. Dolby is, I mean, dude's like 20, what is he, 21-4. He's like 38, 39 years old. He has fought above his abilities
forever,
for a long freaking time. But let's look at his last couple of fights, because this is very telling. He's 21-4. Warley Alves, who just hasn't looked the same.
And it was a close fight.
It was a close fight, yep. Claudio Silva, who death gasses, lost a decision to Tim Means. And, he fought Daniel Rodriguez, all right? So, whatever. He's fighting mid-range guys to lower-level guys, and he's had a very favorable
Honestly, he's fighting
matchup.
Specialists.
He is. Who, the last two anyway, haven't had the cardio to match him in the situation. And Dolby he blitzes forward, and he will, if he gets taken down, he will scramble and find his way up. He's good. He's tough. That's it. But Saliokov is can take him down whenever he wants. So that right there is, I'm watching Saliokov against Francisco Trinaldo, and when he's getting just punched and beat on at the end of the fight, it's like 1 minute left. Saliokov is not death gasp, but tired, and just grabs Francisco, like, not even a takedown, just like picks him up and throws him to the ground like a kid. I was like, all right, like, he's okay. I mean, he's got that. And honestly, the way that he was able to take Fialho down almost at will. Like, we've seen Fialho has had good takedown defense.
And it honestly looked kind of like an amateurish, like, single leg, and he still just got him down easily.
You want to know what he did? Is he had a single leg, and he ran the pipe, and he went out the back door.
That's
It's a
right.
reverse Navy.
Yep.
So Navy would be this way. I don't even know what you would call it.
That's why it looked so slow and amateurish, because he just
went
blocked the leg.
inside. It was beautiful transition right there. And then he took him down again. Right after that, he went, grabbed him, clinched him, threw him down. It was really impressive there. But his movement is good, and he's got the spin effect. And actually, you want to, he did what I think he beat Fialho was, so I think the wrestling, of course, he took him down, but he attacked his body a lot. So there's spinning kicks, spinning heel hooks right to the liver, and then a lot of teeps right to the body, and you could see that those were visibly wearing on Fialho. I think Dolby is like Dricus du Plessis, where he looks death gassed and is breathing, and he never dies. You're like, why won't this guy die? But I think the body work of Saliokov is going to wear him down. I think the wrestling will wear him down. But honestly, I think Dolby's own toughness and forward pressure is going to work against him, because I think he's going to run right into a spin. And I think Saliokov, actually, I could see him finishing Dolby by spinning back fist, spinning heel kick, spinning wheel kick, something where Dolby is pressing in, Saliokov is circling out, and something spinning happens. So I like Saliokov here.
God, I couldn't have thought of a worse fight for Saliokov than Fialho. Like, a guy who just has massive power and it will stay in your face. And, man, he passed that test with flying colors and looked amazing. God, this fight is really interesting to me. And actually, I was looking at a play earlier, and I'm not sure if I'm going to play it yet, but the spread for Dolby. My read was actually the opposite. I was feeling like when Saliokov is fresh, he's a better striker. His striking is incredible. I love it. It's just such a mix of styles, right? He's throwing inside low kicks, his hands, he's always parrying stuff and returning. He just is a gorgeous striker. But I always thought he kind of fades late, and that's when Dolby seems to pick it up as that third round. So I was thinking a spread play possibly on Dolby, thinking he can just steal that third round or something like that. But man, both these guys are so old, but honestly, who looks older between the two?
Oh my God, I don't even know.
Saliokov by 20 years?
Yeah, because Dolby, it's funny, yeah.
You could tell me Dolby was 27 and I would believe you.
If you told me he's 67, you're like, oh, it looks good for his age, but you'd believe it.
Yeah, Saliokov, I'm like, oh man, this guy's 85. Yeah. He's seen 100,000 fights. But I do like Saliokov. Honestly, at the end of the day for me on this one, Dolby's chin is still up in the air a lot, and he blitzes guys, and he kind of catches them when they're tired. He always loses maybe the early parts of rounds, and then he catches guys when they're tired. But for me, the biggest thing was level of competition. Saliokov is beating guys 10 years younger than him and looking really good doing it, and he's fighting top-level guys, whereas Dolby's fighting Claudio Silva, who killed him while he had gas and then died, and then he wins, and it's still kind of a close fight. He's beating specialists. He's beating older guys. He's beating these guys that have a very specific skill set, whereas Saliokov is still beating guys that are well-rounded, that are younger, that are faster, more dynamic, and he's figuring out a way to get it done. So I think I'm with you. I like Saliokov here.
Okay. Now, the other thing going in the third round, I think the third round is actually going to be probably competitive, but when Saliokov gets tired and Dolby starts pressing him, I think Saliokov just takes him down.
Wrestles.
And Dolby's wrestling defense isn't amazing. He gets up well and he scrambles well when he is taken down. But as for pressure, he's going to fall over, basically. It's almost like he's going to rush into attack and to kill and to beat Saliokov up and just get taken down for his efforts because of it. All right, next up we've got Nicolas Mota and Manuel Torres.
Me on this one?
You're up.
Geez, I have had... Well, these lines came out, the props came out, and I was really invested in Mota KO. Loved it. So I clicked max bet, and on Bet Online, max bet's like $250.
Okay.
Right? It's not crazy. And I was like, okay, sure, I'll take that. And then the more I'm thinking about it, I'm like, no, I still want to hit this. I'm playing Call of Duty at the time. And then I looked down on my phone. I just clicked max bet again. Right? I don't even think, because I know Bet Online so well, I don't even think about it. I click max bet again. All of a sudden, they put the max bet at $9,750. I thought it was going to be $250. I'm like, I'll take that shot. $9,750. And I clicked confirm, like
just without even thinking.
Didn't even look at it. Just click max bet, confirm, like I usually do. Thank God. So many people were on it, or whatever was happening. It said the status of this line changed, and it didn't put it through for me. I would have had $10,000 on Nicholas Mota KO.
Wow.
Which actually, I don't know if I'd be that mad at it.
You shouldn't be mad, but you should be worried. I was
shitting myself. So anyways, I like Nicholas Mota here. There's something about the Extreme Couture guys that, like, everybody, all the execs and UFC guys live in Vegas. They know the deal with these guys. They always try to give the Extreme guys really favorable matchups. Like Natan Levy, always getting good matchups. Like all these guys that they really like are getting good fights. Manuel Torres, geez, I was trying to fade him last time with Ogden, and I couldn't ever really feel that comfortable with Ogden. He just doesn't move very well, and we're kind of counting on him to be veteran and gritty and grind out that fight. I like the Nicholas Mota fight a lot better. He's a much better striker, much higher volume. He can go 3 rounds at a high clip. Like, he is a little small and a little undersized, but I think he, for the most part, defends pretty well. I like Mota, and I like Mota KO, especially as we get into the second and the third round, and Torres is being Torres. Honestly, his fight doesn't go, I think, is a given, and that'll be on Torres as a court. He's either kill or be killed. But, yeah, give me Mota KO all day.
100%. I like Torres, but he overdoes stuff, and he's a little bit too big in his movements.
You can't fight that way forever.
And Mota is, I say a couple things you guys have heard me say over the years. I don't know, I'm sure I've said it on the pod, but you as a fighter have heard me say it, is it's not who's better, it's who fucks up first. And generally the person who messes up first is either 1, tired, or 2, who fundamentally isn't as sound. And that is it. That is it right here. And honestly, Torres is both of those. If you see him, even in the, what was the fight where he won? Frank Camacho. He looked actually like a little tired out, and then just realized Camacho is, all right, I got to put him out.
Yeah.
But you could see he started to slow a little bit. He's all guns blazing go. So I think he's going to fade a little bit. Nothing horrible, but I think he's going to slow. And when he slows down, he's going to get a little bit looser, a little bit loopier. And Mota's striking is just clean. Beautiful jab, and his moneymaker is his left hook, but he doesn't just throw that left hook. I really like he'll throw like a right hand, but not a real right hand. He throws it mid, almost like a half right hand, to get you reaching to see that, and then he comes around with a big hook as he comes. He's a little low volume. He doesn't do a lot. I don't think that's going to matter too much because I think Torres is going to do the work.
He's going to force him to fight.
Come into him. And I think he's going to like download and calculate, and eventually he's going to start putting it on him. I don't know if it's round 1. I could see this getting in round 2, and then Mota really taking over and knocking him out. I could see a KO. Only thing is that Mota with the Jim Miller fight, and I think he was just excited to fight Jim Miller and probably a little intimidated. Mm-hmm. He got reckless and he got caught. And he hurt him early too. I mean, you know what I mean? It was Jim Miller's a vet, and it's just like he's Jim Miller 6.0. He's
Jim Miller murdered someone a few weeks ago.
Yeah, he just looks good. So I don't think that's a pure,
Wait, this is like a weird. Jim Miller murdered that guy a few weeks ago, Jesse Butler, who murdered Masio Fulll, who's Manuel Torres' teammate. So
there you have it, folks.
Full circle. It's a guarantee. Lock it in.
That means Barcelos by knockout.
Mm-hmm.
No, I like Mota here. I think he's a better guy. All right, next up we got Pat Sabatini and Lucas Almeida. Man, this one is tricky to me because I love Almeida. He looked good against Trezano, striking.
And we love Sabatini.
And we love Sabatini. I forget, there was a fight recently that I said unicorns aren't going to happen twice in a row.
And then it happened. Brian Battle.
It was Brian Battle, yes.
You're like, right. He never again will ever get a quick knockout in his life.
Never.
Got in
that
7
was the
seconds.
One time it was even faster. Yes, no, that's exactly it. So I was looking at the Sabatini fight because I was like, I remember Damon Jackson and clipping him early and beat him before the fight got going. But I was like, what did he catch him with? It was a front kick up the middle.
Yeah.
Man, I don't even want to say it, but I'm going to say it. I don't see a unicorn happening again. But honestly, with the Jamal Emmers fight, Jamal Emmers clipped Sabatini.
Everybody in history has clipped Sabatini. Watch his CFFC fights. Even fights he wins, he goes through hell.
Yes. I like Almeida. I like his cardio. I love his striking. I love his aggressiveness. The closest thing to a read on this, because really the read is
who gets it done
Sabatini's
first.
Chin. Yeah, it's like Sabatini's chin to me was like, gosh.
Does his chin hold up enough for him to get the takedown?
Exactly. And watching Trezano be able to push Almeida up against the fence, all I needed was to see it a couple of times. And what Almeida does, though, is he actually, he does this, and I think it's maybe Amanda Nunez. It's one of the women fights I've seen recently that they're always inching left angle, inching right angle, inching left angle. They're never static, and they don't fight in a line. That's Almeida. He's never static, and he doesn't fight in a line. So that alone is going to, Sabatini's going to have to track him. If Almeida goes full balls out, I think he can clip Sabatini early. But then we don't know how good Almeida's jiu-jitsu is, and just because Sabatini gets a takedown, does it mean he's going to get the submission and get the ground and pound and be able to do it again and again and again? I think I just talked myself into Almeida. Before I started speaking, I was thinking that Sabatini will get the takedown, he will press it, and he will find the victory. But that I was thinking was he was going to get the takedown, and then if he got the takedown, it was a wrap. But I don't know that him just getting the takedown is a wrap. And I think he's got to be able to do that for 15 minutes again and again and again. I don't know that a unicorn has to happen in the first 2 minutes. I think Almeida just has to get through the fight. He needs to not get submitted in round 1, so he starts standing again in round 2. And then he needs to not get submitted in round 2, so he can start standing again in round 3. And I think eventually Almeida's cardio is good. I think he does enough of the right stuff that we talk about damage versus control. I don't hate Almeida here. I think I'm going to go Almeida. I think I'm going Almeida.
See, I want to agree with you, but you're saying damage versus control. Sabatini's one of the few guys that we see who actually gets on top of people and punches the shit out of them.
He does.
He doesn't just hold you. He's not a Dan Argueta where he's just holding on to you and begging for dear life, right? Look at TJ Laramie. I actually really like TJ Laramie as a fighter. That guy does not give up on himself. He's fighting hard as hell the entire time. And Sabatini broke him down, broke his will. He's doing that to a lot of guys. He's taking him down, and then he's controlling their wrists, always punching, always threatening submissions, making the right decisions on the ground. And then even when he's starting to get out, he re-wrestles. He's amazing at it.
I'm looking at his record right now. I'm like, gosh,
it's good.
Fucking good.
And I mean, the thing is it's always his chin is a liability. In CFFC, he lost his title right from getting chinned, and then he comes back, gets chinned again, and still finds a way. His striking is not good. And it doesn't necessarily even have to be. This is a tough fight. It's really, I think it's who can do it first. Does Almeida start cracking him and start winning on the feet? That's going to make the wrestling a lot harder for Sabatini. Or does Sabatini get that first takedown? Honestly, I think a live bet after one takedown sequence is the way to do it. Yeah. Does Sabatini get the first one? And if he doesn't get the first one, all right, Almeida.
Yep.
If he does get the first one, oh my God, this is going to be a runaway train, I believe. I don't think that round 2, Almeida is going to be fresh enough after taking the beating that Sabatini will.
If he gets that first takedown and wears on him.
Yeah.
Yep. I think a live bet after round 1, you're gonna know how that fight's playing out.
Yeah.
The odds, if it's Almeida, you almost got to live bet it kind of early in that live bet option. You know what I mean? You got to do it a little bit earlier because Sabatini is probably
not if he gets taken down. I mean, if you believe that the fight's going to play out like you do, where he gets taken down for a round and can still find the chin second round, wait till after one.
Well, no, I was going to say odds wise. I think if Sabatini is controlling him a lot in that first round, he's going to be the favorite very soon.
Yeah.
And so you got to kind of see, okay, I think he can do this for 3 rounds. And then you got to live bet him before the odds are minus 600 in that favor. If you're going to do it. Where Almeida, you have a little bit more time, I think, to see, but you can't wait too. I guess if you're going to live bet Sabatini, you've got to do it a little bit earlier to beat the odds. Versus Almeida, I think Almeida will maybe lose round 1, and you won't really know how well he's doing until the end of it when he gets up and you're like, basically the bell rings and Almeida's like, oh, he pops up and he's fresh, or does he look dog tired?
All right, you confused the hell out of me. Anyways, one thing I like about Sabatini as opposed to most other guys, right? Because so many people get so tired of wrestling because they're using raw aggression. They're always just clenching and holding. He uses the foot trips. And that's something, one, it's hard to prepare for and defend for because not a lot of guys wrestle like that. And then 2, it doesn't let Sabatini get tired because it's such a low energy takedown. It's just easy. It's right there. And he knows how to lace the legs after that.
And he cage wrestles.
It's gorgeous.
It's the Philly boys.
So here, guys, play it like this. Almeida, round 1 KO, and a little Sabatini money line. I think that's what the doctor ordered.
Hedge it that way. Okay, I don't hate it. Man, I love Sabatini's grappling. I really like Almeida's striking. So I don't know who I want to win as a fan on this one. I think I really am hoping Almeida wins. But man,
he's so fun. I love Almeida.
He's just fun to watch, man. And I want to start to see some of these Brazilian strikers coming up who can defend it, who do the right stuff. Maybe that's why I like Almeida. I feel like he's not jumping guillotine and laying on his back, and he has good cardio. And that's why I think I like him, why I want to see him win. So, all right, we've got Christian Leroy Duncan against Armen Petrosyan. Who you got here?
I like Christian Leroy Duncan. Hard to really find an edge because you got 2 guys that are very good strikers, but man, that guy's got the star power, and honestly, that's about as much as you can say because we haven't seen him fight a guy on Armen's striking level, I guess. But Armen sometimes is a bit slow, a bit hittable, and Christian is so dynamic. He sees things so well, and this is going to just sound like the most generic answer, but he does whatever it takes to win. He's found himself in some really bad situations and really bad spots, and he always finds a way out. His striking is clean. It's beautiful. It's educated. I just love that UK style. I think the guy's a star. They were giving him Dusko to just maul him last time, and Dusko took the easy way out, broke his knee, took the easy way out. Honestly, I'm seeing the same thing. Shattered his knee into a million pieces. He didn't want none of that. I like Christian Leroy Duncan. I think I don't even know how he wins, but he wins.
I'm with you. I was watching film on this, and Petrosyan is good. He's technical. He is a little slow. I think he's probably more technical and more of a veteran everywhere than Christian Leroy Duncan. But Leroy Duncan has the it factor. There's something about him. And you guys, I'm not going nuts comparing, but it's early. Like the Connors, the Sean O'Malley's in their early career. When Sean O'Malley first got in, you're like, and I actually even said this in one of our first podcasts, as I said, Sean O'Malley has that star power, that early something.
You think Christian's on that level?
I don't know, not necessarily, but he has that it factor. Where
he's for me, Christian Leroy Duncan's in the JDM category, Jack Della Maddalena. And then when we're going to see George Hardwick come in through Contender Series, those guys are going to be the guys, I think. Honestly, even Ian Gary, even though he's annoying, he still is that good.
Yep. Yeah, Duncan has something about him where the volume's not there. He doesn't have, but he just moves right. He throws the right thing. He sees the reads. He sees the punches. He's athletic. He floats in and out. And he's a guy you could just see winning. Like something looks, oh man, he's getting beat up here. Oh, he won. Something, not necessarily he's going to get beat up and then win, that he has to come back. But you just see him doing the right things always. Not even always, just the guy knows how to fight, and he has something about him.
And he's had a lot of
that-
fights. He's had a lot more fights
a lot
than
of
Armin.
amateur fights.
Yep.
So, nope, I like him. Let's get through these because I don't have too much time. I gotta get to getting. But we've got Armin Sarukian, and we kind of did this last minute. You weren't going to be able to film. You had some work appointments, and then you're like, "Hey, I can film." So we were like, "Oh, okay, let's get
scramble
in there."
on over.
Yeah, we're a little time crunch, but we have Armin Sarukian and Joaquim Silva.
Need we say more?
I mean, are we?
All right, let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, I mean that's silly. All right, we have Marvin Vettori and Jared Cannonier. I'll go first on this, unless you're dying.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Before I watched tape on this, I thought both of these guys were better at what I thought they were good at than what they are. And Vettori, I thought he was more volume. I thought he was I don't know if I want to say a better boxer, but more of a power puncher, maybe a better boxer. I thought he was a better boxer than he is. Not to say he's bad, but I thought he was better than he is. I thought he was a better wrestler than he is. And I thought Cannonier was more aggressive than he is, and I thought his boxing was better than it is. And really, Cannonier is big. First of all, Cannonier's forearms are so long. He has such a reach on him. That is a big, massive human. You can see how he used to fight at heavyweight. He's got a reach on him. But his kicks are his moneymaker. Like he does a really good job of switching stances to match because you've got Vettori, who's a southpaw. Cannonier is going to switch stances and calf kick outside. And then even in the opposite stance, Cannonier will switch stance, go outside, and he'll go inside. He's going to throw middle kicks. The kicks are going to be Cannonier's weapons. Then when Vettori crowds, then you'll start to see him punching. But Cannonier has a really good lead hook cross combination. And when he loops in and really throws it, it really is a good combination. When people throw at Cannonier defensively, he kind of shells up and is almost a little bit off balance. He doesn't counter punches well. He awkwardly kind of moves and then will find his exit and then kick. Vettori, he reminds me. I said this right before we started the podcast. He reminds me of a Colby Covington at 185, where his hands aren't amazing, but he will throw a lot and he's just there. He won't piss off. He has good cardio, and eventually he goes. The thing with him is he doesn't find his range well. He's got a kind of a short reach, and he throws 1-2 or a hook cross, and he's always missing on that straight left. It's just a couple inches too far away. And Vettori does best when he's actually clinching or they crash in, and off the break he throws 3 or 4 punches. And Vettori actually does really, really well. It's my favorite thing. I'm gonna steal it. Is whenever he clinches, he doesn't push away. He actually pulls his head on the inside and frames his head first, and then he finds the separation and throws. Which is actually really nice. You guys go back and watch that. But he fights well. He does a lot of stuff well. I think in a 5-round fight, you've got to go. I think Vettori is going to push rounds 4 and 5, and just the volume end up kind of cardio and pace. Probably win those. I think Cannonier's kicks early are going to be hell for Vettori. Honestly, I think if Cannonier would just press and swing like Dolides did, first of all, I thought Dolides won that fight. I think if Cannonier were to do that, but without gassing out, which I don't think he would.
He's never really shown that. He's been good.
Yeah, I think he could make that fight a lot easier fight than it should be. But I think the kicks here are really the differentiating factor. I think Cannonier is going to blast those kicks. Vettori's going to swing from the outside, and opposite stances. If they were same stance for the most part, I think Vettori would find some punches better. But in opposite stance or even further away, and I don't think Vettori is going to be able to find that range. And I think he's going to get kicked more, and I think he's going to end up losing a decision.
Great breakdown. All I have to say, and it's the one rule that I always go by, never bet a white.
That's it.
And that's the end of the show, guys.
That's the end of the show, you guys.